Yes, I can. I'm just checking. I'm trying to work out if this thing's recording this time.
Yeah, I can see a record button in the top corner now.
Is it red? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's red now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this should be recording with a little bit of luck. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I did it with the phone, and when you seen it, Zip, you thought it was on record as well. But
yeah, well, it was the option of stop recording.
Yeah, it's sort of weird, but I've been messing around with it all day, trying to work out why it was doing it and why it wasn't. I haven't worked it out, so I just figured it was easier. So Brad, you must be on your phone, are you?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Because you got a real clear picture.
Okay.
Yeah, 4:05.
Is mine not that good?
A bit blurry, probably like mine.
I'm on my iPad today, but I can change to my phone if it's better.
Oh, righto. I don't know. Usually they're pretty good. Maybe you're just blurry.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just you.
Maybe a bit fuzzy around the edges.
We get that way when we get old.
We're getting old. Shit.
Well, you're sharp, Brad.
Sorry?
That's why you're sharp. Now we're just waiting on Al, but he could be serving a customer or what. I don't know, because he didn't reply back to that text. Because the reason I sent you that email is because because I did this on the computer and on the phone, it's come up with 2 meetings at 4 o'clock.
Oh, right.
And I wasn't quite sure what I had. Now, while we're just sitting here, I don't know if this will work in the shed. I'm just going to try and ring Al.
Yep.
And just see if he answers it. Because he might be on the other one. You've gone stationary, Zip. Hello. Can you move, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all right. No, it's just Zip. Zip's kind of stopped.
What about me? Have I dropped out?
There you go. You're moving now. Yeah. So, good, mate.
Your voice has gone a bit funny.
Now, are you logging on? Right. There's another. I've double dipped on the meetings. I just sent you through an email, which should be the correct one. Just a minute ago, 3 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. So just, yeah. I think it was to L Smart 32. Yeah. All right, I'll get off the phone and I'll just get off the phone and you'll be right. What do you want to hang on? All right, cool. Cheers. And that's another reason I did it on the computer, because I figured if I need that, we had it. So you got a coffee there, Zip? I noticed Brad had a drink.
Yeah, cold water, mate.
yeah, I need coffee.
Say that again?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
You seem to have a delay.
Oh, right. Should I go to my phone?
Do you want to try it?
Yeah, I'll switch this off and reconnect.
Your
on that
bandwidth is
on
low.
my phone.
It just come up with your bandwidth. It was low.
Yeah, iPad cameras are a bit dopey.
Are they?
Right. I'll just leave, right?
Yeah, right.
I'll leave and come back.
Okay, Zip. Yeah, I would have thought the iPad stuff would have been as good as the iPhone. Like,
no, it's a totally different gig. Like the phones are like maybe 5 to 6 times more advanced than an iPad.
Yeah, right, eh?
Yeah.
2 people have entered the waiting room for this meeting. So, Alan Smart, admit. Zippel, admit. There we go. Right.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a lot better, Zip.
Right.
And yep, Al, you're on too.
Got me?
You can hear us?
Yeah, all good.
Beautiful. And Zip was just changing from his iPad to his phone.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Yeah, he was kind of pausing and stopping and not really doing much at all. Yeah. Righto. So sorry about yesterday, guys. It was
That's
just
all
right.
yeah, technology, and I'll have a serious talk to my IT guy. Kicking up the arse. Trying to solve the problem. So,
Have you got teenage kids, you can ask how to fix it?
well, they're 7, but they'd probably be able to do it better than me. But they're not here today. They're not here today. So, the only day they haven't been here in 8 weeks. So
Yeah, right.
I couldn't ask. Naturally. So, look, we'll probably just go through what we went through yesterday. If I'm going off course or whatever, just, pull me up or set me straight or, get me organised or whatever, help me out a bit because I can never do something twice in a row. Like, trust me, it'll never happen. Let alone computers. All right, so you guys ready to start? So we'll probably run for, I haven't got a clock in front of me. That's part of the problem. So we've got an hour, but the problem with an hour is it's really hard to edit down an hour without making someone look like they chopped and changed a bit too much.
Yeah.
So half an hour to 45 minutes works, but if it's going really well, we'll just keep going. And you guys talk amongst yourselves as well. Don't just rely on me a little bit. Just throw questions at each other. But we'll kind of go over what we went yesterday because, like, Al, I found that moon icing really interesting. Brad, with your metal stuff, and Zip, obviously the cruising and a bit of your history there. Zip, did you want to touch a bit on what you do at the races?
Oh, rightio, yes.
Yeah.
For 10 years now, I've been involved as a chaplain.
Well, hang on. Well, what we'll do is when we get going, I'd like you to do that because I actually find that fairly interesting,
That's fine.
So, and I don't really care about everyone else, so it works for me.
You're the host. You call it.
Right, we'll get this thing rolling. I'll roughly introduce you guys, and then you guys just do what you did the other day, yesterday, and introduce yourselves a bit. And I'll just throw it at each one of you guys. This is good because now I can see all of you and me rather than just me and who's talking. So I'll know if one of you has disappeared. Disappears.
I'm still got the shop open, so I might get a customer or a phone call. If I do, I'll just dive out.
Yeah, if you do, we'll just sort of, say that you've gone for a drink, a beer at the bar, and you'll be back later. All right, let's get rolling. All right, guys. Thank you for getting on to Shooting the Breeze with us. We're going to catch up a bit today. We've got Brad, Al, and Zip, or Grant Zippel, but I call him Zip, here today with us. We're going to have a bit of a chat and see what they're going on in their lives this week, and maybe a little bit of a lead up with you guys to introduce yourselves and have a talk. So, Brad, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us where you've come from, what you've done or what you're doing, a bit about what your workshop is?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Brad from Handmade Metalcraft in Cranmer, Victoria. I've got a little tiny shop here that does metal only fabrication work, mainly outside surface sheet metal, but we do dabble in the odd chassis here and there. As for background, started out just as a crash repair sort of panel beater that we did restoration at the same time, same shop. So, we're fortunate enough to play with both sides of the coin with that one.
Sounds like Al's got to run off and catch a customer because
Yeah.
he's on the job at the moment. But you head off, Al, and we'll keep chatting. We'll talk to you in a
Yeah,
second. Keep going, Brad.
Yeah, so then just tried to keep finding different levels of work in the field in the way of restoration, and end up with the custom scene and learned how to build panels from flat sheet, and here we are.
So with your training, where was your training based?
My main apprenticeship was up in Sydney.
Yeah, because
So,
you're from Melbourne originally though, aren't you?
yeah, absolutely. Yep. So
Yeah.
I grew up in the area that my shop's in, and I went to Sydney to do my apprenticeship.
That's the whole reason you went there, just to do that, or?
Yep, absolutely. Because when I got out of high school, there was no jobs around, and there was basically only plumbers and sparkies, which I now know sort of generate more funds than what I can, but probably not as fun. So one of the guys I kept pestering for a job for here in Melbourne, he gave me a Sydney paper and said, "Look, mate, there's columns and columns of jobs up there. Why don't you go up there?" Oh, so I did.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And how long were you in Sydney for?
5 years.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So
Five and a half years.
what brought you back to Melbourne? Just finished the apprenticeship and then thought you'd come back to the family type thing?
No, not really. I finished the apprenticeship and then we started to, the passion for cars was there, and I was collecting a couple of cars at the time, and I was running out of room in our rental.
As we all do.
Absolutely. So we wanted to buy a property and couldn't afford one in Sydney, and we looked at property prices in Melbourne. It was like half at the time.
Yeah.
So it just made sense.
Yeah. And so when you come back, you didn't just start your own shop then, you worked for a couple other guys, and then you've started your own shop a year and a half or so ago?
Yeah, so I worked for other firms for, maybe 13, 14 years when I came back.
Yeah.
And then, after, I guess, doing the rounds and working for some of the higher profile kind of people, decided to open up my own shop and give it a go.
Yeah. All right. While we've got Zip sitting there, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, Zip? Bit of your history in the car scene and what you do now and where you're based?
Yep, based in the southern suburbs of Adelaide. I grew up on a farm 700 k's the other side of Adelaide in a country with no power or no television, so I had no interest in cars as a child. I didn't know there was such a thing as cool cars. And it wasn't until I came here to secondary school in Adelaide, got my first old Holden, which was my grandfather's from New, a factory black EJ.
Oh, yeah,
and
nice.
I with a few other car mates and got into the EH Holden Club. And after, that turned into a pretty nice car. And then noticing American cars, I really developed a passion for the American stuff. And I bought a 57 Chevy four-door.
So just with the American stuff, so what year was that? Because there wouldn't have been a lot of American stuff in Australia then.
No, there wouldn't have been. Just seeing a 55 Chevy four-door sedan was like you'd seen the ultimate car.
Yeah.
And there was one coupe that then popped up in Adelaide, which was just amazing to see a coupe, So I 78 was my last year at school. I got my car in end of 82, my first car.
Yep.
The EJ. And then it was a few years later that I got the 57 four-door Aussie model while finishing off my EJ, actually. And that turned out to a really nice car, the EJ. And the 57 was a going concern that I just sort of kept neat and tidy. It wasn't as good as my EJ, but it was cool enough,
Yeah.
And then I imported a 57 Chevy coupe from the US to build, which I never did end up building. It sat in my shed for 19 years, got married, all the rest of it. And I've come to realise that a ground-up rebuild is just a bit beyond my head. I don't have the confidence. I'd love to do it, but I need somebody standing over my shoulder telling me what to do, and then I'm fine. But I can't be in control myself. I just don't have the confidence. But anyway, in '88, I went to the States for the first time, came back all inspired, to start some cruise nights because I like to just go for a drive and pull over and have a chat with somebody and socialise. So I started these cruise nights for American Cars in '88, inviting about a dozen friends, and just mailing list started to grow. I never advertised. I have never advertised it yet.
Really?
But my mailing list has been between 700 at the moment. It has been up as high as 900 with attendance at around about the 350 to 400 car mark. And
that's predominantly Adelaide. Like that's predominantly cars from that city.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And when do you hold the events?
We hold them on Saturday nights, once a month from October through to April, just the warmer months. And the location and the route we take is different every time. And so everybody knows the dates well ahead, and they wait to receive the information from me via email or post, however they've allocated to receive it.
So if someone wanted to go on one of those cruises, how would they go about it? Do they ring you up, or do they have to apply for it?
Well, I tell the people that are already on my list that they can bring along friends, as long as their friends are in an American car or in their friend's car. I don't mind if they're not subscribers to my mailing list, but as long as they are in an American or a hot rod.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and they come along for a while, and then hey, I want to be part of this, so they sign up and they pay me a subscription every year. So
it's organised. So you have a fair bit of time invested in doing this, because you don't just ring up a bunch of guys and it happens. You got to go to the police and give them a bit of a layout.
Yeah, I just email the police once I've planned the map, which is about a week later, the week before the event. Everybody knows the dates for the whole season. They just don't know where each one's going to be until about a week beforehand.
Yeah. So do you link in with any car shows?
Once a year we do at the Extreme Auto Expo, Jeff Tartuzzi's show, which is our biggest indoor show in Adelaide.
Yep.
That's an annual event, and we have that November cruise where we start there. We become an outdoor car show just outside of the pavilion, inside the showgrounds, and that night gets 550 cars.
Really?
Because we meet not from 6 p.m. like we normally do on a Saturday night. We meet from 3:30 and then leave the showground about 7.
Yeah.
So we become, and everybody who comes in an American car, whether on my list or not, my wife and I are at the gate. We let them through that particular gate. They pay $5 a head in the car, and they get in the show, which normally would cost $25 a head, and they're getting a car park and entry to the show for $5.
That's a bit of a scam, isn't it?
Well, thank you to Jeff Tartuzzi. But it adds a lot to his show. It becomes another show on top of his show, and it brings a lot of extra people to his event.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So
that's a whopper.
You don't actually run a car show, but it's just a cruise night, but that's the one that it's linked into as a show sort of thing.
Yeah, it becomes a car display outside of his show, which is part of his event.
Yeah. That's really cool. And now, so just for the people watching, so you're not a hands-on mechanic or a fabricator or something. So what are you?
I am a fitter and turner toolmaker by trade.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what do you do now?
I work for Outlaw Speed Shop here in Adelaide.
Oh, yeah, so you're still dabbling?
Yeah. The first time I've worked in the automotive industry, I was in telecommunications in Telstra for 30 years.
Yes.
Lost my job there, and very fortunate to land a job doing all of the online and uploading new products and all the social media stuff for Outlaw Speed Shop.
Yep.
That is a shop that has 13 staff, as well as the boss and his father. His father bought the business about 30 years ago.
Really?
And we have 80,000 different products available that we can source within 2 days and get to a customer.
80,000?
We have an eBay store and a website store, and there's big shop and display room itself. One of the few true speed shops left in the country where you can walk in and there's heaps of stuff there to look at.
All right. So it's not just an online store with a counter at the front. It's actually a proper walk-in speed shop.
It is. It's retained that traditional, there's 15 double-sided shelves or display aisles where you can walk down crate motors to whatever.
Oh, that would be bad. I reckon
It is. And it's a
Shopping
fabulously
trolleys?
run business. Sorry?
Have you got shopping trolleys there?
I think we do, actually.
Really? That would be trouble, I'm sure of that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed that you've got a car behind you, so is that yours or is that Steph's?
Yes. Yes. No. Well, she's not here. It's mine. Yeah. It's a 41 Buick Coupe
Yeah.
that I bought from Melbourne about nearly 2 years ago. It had sat for 11 years unused. An elderly guy had it, and he had passed away. Left
Yeah.
it to his grandson, who didn't use it once. Really well kept car. It came into the US back in '89, was converted immediately. I've now got to know the guy that did all of that.
Oh, yeah.
It's in Ballarat now. It's the real base model, what they call a Series A special. And not all specials are Series A. Series A is actually a 41 Chevy body.
Oh, really?
So this, if you strip it down to the windscreen back, the basic shell is a 41 Chev. It's
Right.
not a Buick.
Yeah, yeah.
So Buick went to Fisher and said, you make all of our bodies, but those Chevys over there, we want some of those to make a cheap entry-level Buick. And
Yeah.
this is one of those cars. So complete Buick drivetrain, dash, everything. It's just the basic shell, that Chevy.
All right, eh? Yeah. Now, Brad, I think, do you have any toys of your own?
Yeah, I've got a Model T Ford, 1927.
Yep.
So just starting to hot rod that really. So
Cool.
I've been in bits for about 4 years now for that.
Where'd you find that?
I actually found that in Adelaide.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I pulled that out of Adelaide about 3 or 4 years ago, and
You remember who you bought it off?
a guy called Todd, I believe.
Todd.
Yeah,
Doesn't ring any bells, but that's okay.
yeah, he's got a I want to say his Model A Roadster, green one.
Oh, yeah.
Highboy car, really traditional looking thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's got an inline 6-cylinder in it that makes it something a bit different.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I like that sort of thing very much. I like traditional cars like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So what made you buy a T?
It just came to price point and figuring out what I can do to these cars that would appease what I wanted to do to one of these cars. So I was working on a couple of 32s at the time, so I started looking at 32s, and they were a bit too expensive.
Yeah.
So then I started looking for a Model A, and they just weren't around. And then the T popped up, and went, "Oh, that's different because it's a Tudor body."
Because I got to say here that, like, you didn't buy that to show off your workmanship, because there's not a lot of metal in a T that needs your type of workmanship, you know. So
Yeah, you're right, but it's the modifications that are going into it that's
Right.
going to be
Yeah.
the keys.
because, like, I notice in the background you've got a bonnet there with a bunch of Clecos in it, which is not a
Yes.
flat bonnet.
No.
So can you tell us a bit about what you do, and maybe that car behind you us a little bit?
Yeah, well, that's a customer car. That's a FJ Holden Ute. It's been widened and lengthened in its time just to fit its power plant, which is a BMW V12.
Wow.
Got twin Nelson Racing turbos on it, and
We've seen
So-
this car out, haven't we?
yes, this car has been out a couple of times before.
Yeah.
It sort of made its feature out of Motor X at 2016,
Yeah.
and it was incomplete and in bare metal at that stage. Obviously, I didn't have my shop then, but I was part of the build at that point in time.
Yep.
And then the car took its own path, and I took my own path as well. And here we are a couple of years later, finishing off the final touches on it, making the bonnet fit around the turbos, basically.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So-
quite fit.
So what do you do in the shop? Like, obviously there's a bit of shaping going on there, so it's not just a bit of hammer and dolly work. You obviously do a bit of other stuff.
Yeah, so actually, this car spurred on the decision to buy an air-driven power hammer because I was to get the shape into it by hand on my own. So picked up a power hammer, and that helped that along. And in between the English wheel and the hammer, it works out well.
Yeah. So you do obviously a lot of shaping work.
Yeah. It's at the minute, it's nearly all shaping work, which is great.
Yeah. I see Al's back now.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Mate, I must tell everybody that's watching, so I'm in Victoria, Brad's in Melbourne, Grant Zippel is in Adelaide, and Al's in Perth. So there's actually, this is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you got 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Al?
Yeah, just after 2, yeah.
So your shop's still open on a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, we don't normally get too many customers. Normally Saturday afternoons, I play my own car, but because we're doing a Zoom call, that's when they came in.
Good. Leave it on. Leave it on.
It's like buying lunch. You know how it works.
Oh, yeah.
You have no one all day, buy lunch, that's when they turn up.
Go and eat your burger and coffee's cold, burger's cold.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, while we've got you, in case someone else walks in the door, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing?
Yep. All right. I mean, do you want just like a more background or just what I do now?
Bit of both. Yeah, like give us a bit of your background first, and then what you're doing now. How'd you get into cars?
I don't really know what really got me into it, but yeah, basically, I think as soon as I got my license, nothing was stock. And I think a mate of mine's dad he was playing with hot rods and GT Falcons and stuff when we were 15 and 16. So I think just hanging around there sort of got me started and maybe seeing the stuff on TV like ZZ Top and that sort of thing. I got my license and I started with early Holdens, HR Holden and stuff, and straight away they were all getting modified, and I just don't think it stopped. I went from Aussie stuff to American stuff and all that, and it just kept going.
Yeah. So,
and of course, someone's just turned up again.
If you want to head off, we'll keep chatting, and when you come back, we'll catch up with you a bit more.
Sorry.
You're all right. So lucky none of the rest of us have got a job on today. So Brad, do you want to keep going with where you're up to? We'll just keep catching up with Al as he goes, because it's a little bit hard with him with work and stuff. So
for sure. Particularly being 2 o'clock in the afternoon for him.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit harder.
Oh, I reckon. Absolutely. Yeah. So I know where we're up to.
So you explained a bit about the shop. So you obviously into doing a bit of rolling and folding and form work.
Yep. So everything's hand formed, and I do it all the old school way. So hand blocking and wheeling and all that sort of stuff. So
nice.
Very old fashioned, a little bit time consuming at times, but just trying to get the end result as good as we can get it.
Yeah. So when you finish, because I know when we're doing metalwork, that last 10 or 15% is the hardest part. So it's acceptable to have some filler in there. You finish and say they don't need filler, or are you trying to, or it doesn't matter if they say to you, I want it finished so there's no filler at all, or how do you work it? How does that work?
Yeah, look, I can get it to a point where it needs pretty much no filler and maybe a couple of thick coats of high fill, but lately I've been trying to steer my customers out of that a little bit, because the last sort of 10% can represent 90% of the total time spent on the car.
Yeah.
And
that's the expensive part. It's that last little bit. It's like a building a car and the assembly. That's the expensive part, like 100%. Making it all come together. Yeah. And next to the FJ, what's next to that? I can see there's a roof there, and
that's a HQ coupe. So we're fortunate enough to have that car sent down from me. So they came to me with just needing cant rails and rain gutters, apparently. and it got here, and the whole roof was still had 1/4 inch of filler in it, and it was pretty much done for.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, the proof coat underneath was holding all the holes in the top for the filler to grip into, you see, which,
Beautiful.
which sort of gives me nothing to weld the cant rails to.
Look, old cars, they've had bad repairs before. They've had no repairs, like it's just, they're old.
Exactly right. Yep.
So what have you had to do there? What was the plan then? New roof or?
Yeah, so it's sort of like the phone call the day the car arrived, back to the gentleman that owns it and says, the job's like 5 times bigger than what you thought. Like the whole roof is done, like what do you want to do? He goes, well, it's there now, you might as well fix it.
Beautiful.
Um,
So he understands.
right. Sorry?
They understand the position of
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and you don't have a problem with doing a whole roof, other than trying to hang on to the thing because they're like this big. You can't even see my hands out there. Look.
Yeah. No, I've broken it down to 4 pieces, which makes it a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
They're pretty big pieces though, but it's very manageable.
Yeah, they are. And just looking at the side of the FJ, the bonnet, how many pieces in that? Because like that's a big bonnet on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the skin, there's 4 pieces in that one as well. So the very nose of it, the top, and 2 sides.
Right. So why did you break it down like that? What was the reason for it that way?
I found the manageability of the shapes and the size of the panels was about the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Because I try and do things in one piece, but these bigger jobs that keep rolling in, it just doesn't support it at all. Like to shrink that amount of metal around is crazy.
No. And we don't need to do stuff in one go. Like it's acceptable, like to do what you're doing. That's probably the best way. I think. Well, we'll just catch up with Al before he takes off again. Was it good burger?
Yeah.
Good burger then, mate?
Yeah. I wish it was. Oh dear. Oh,
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's what it's about. Yeah.
Righto. So, you want me to carry on from where I was, or?
Oh, sort of thing. Yeah. Where are you up to? Like, so so tell us a bit about the business. Seeing as how we keep getting interrupted with the business, let's have a chat about that.
Yeah. So basically, Armadale Auto Parts. I bought the business sort of it's like 16 years ago. It was just a regular auto parts shop, like a Burson's or something like that.
Did you work there beforehand, or worked in automotive retail beforehand?
I hadn't done retail, but when I was 18, I worked at a wholesaler. So I sort of did some parts interpreting and, working in that sort of thing out. And I guess over the years, just playing with cars the whole time, I'd learnt enough. But yeah, basically I was in the building industry and my doctor said, mate, your knees are shot. You need to do something else. So my wife and I started looking for something, and we were originally thinking like a lunch bar or something like that. And then I spotted this advert, and I went, "Hang on, I know that shop."
Yeah.
And then we just went, "Oh, stuff it. Let's just do it."
How good's that? Yeah.
Just jumped in because there was 2 guys already working in the shop, so it looked like on paper I could they would just keep working there, and I'd be able to come in and more or less as the owner.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this sounds good. I might get a day off.
When was that?
Yeah, that hadn't happened for a long time. But it went well at first, and we just kept expanding and added all the hot rod parts. And over the years now, it's really just hot rod parts. And
so what sort of parts are you
a little bit
selling?
of
Like what's out the front? Because we can see hot rods in the background, but so there's a shop out the front then.
Yeah, so at the front, we've got a little retail area, about 150 square metres. And, there's a bit of oil and filters and some basic tools. And then we've got just your normal paint stuff. But we do acrylic and 2-pack and, that sort of stuff. So there's thinners and all that. We got mixing systems, so I can do base coat, direct gloss and acrylic.
Beautiful.
And then we've got like all the Moon Eye stuff and a bit of SoCal stuff and you know, just sort of that sort of thing. And then,
Yeah.
then obviously we got the workshop here. You can see
Yeah,
behind.
the stuff that you just can't buy at other stores, sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, and like even with the like gaskets and stuff like that, we've got a mezzanine floor up there, and nearly all the service parts we have are for old Holdens and Falcons. You know, it's nearly all, you know, it's sort of just gaskets for old V8s and, you know, that sort of thing. A bit of rare spare stuff as well. So
The stuff you don't need a VIN number for, eh?
that's right. Yeah, and I guess the advantage is because, I mean, you know how it is. You walk into Repco and go, oh yes, I need a thermostat for a, you know, 253. Oh, what car's that in?
Yeah.
You know, whereas we're kind of, I've been doing it long enough that someone can come in, oh, I need a thermostat for this. Oh, yeah, okay, no worries, go up and get it. And
Yeah.
everything, especially the older cars anyway. They wanted stuff for LS as well. Yeah, then I'm scratching my head a little bit more.
So you said a bit about Moon Eyes and SoCal. What's the connection there?
So we've been dealers. I've been buying stuff off Moon Eyes for 12 or 13 years, but we've been full dealers for them for 11 years, you know. So, and SoCal was the same, about the same time. I went to the US in 2010 and spent a bunch of money and became official dealers with a few places, and SoCal and Moon Eyes were the two biggest ones. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you're linked pretty heavily with Moon Eyes, aren't you? You hang out with those guys a little bit?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we started off just as a dealer, and we sort of went in and did the buy-in and all that sort of stuff. And within 18 months, you know, I sort of went over to the US, and they were so happy with us because we were sort of one of the biggest dealers in the world, and we were selling all this stuff. And yeah, we just got along well with them and caught up with them when we visited the US, and then we went to Japan, and yeah, we just got on really well. So now, yeah, we do. We spend a bit of time, and I message Shiggy quite a bit. So.
Yeah. Because he's got a few mates there in Perth, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's pretty good bud. Sort of friends with Ben Forster and myself and a couple.
And I gather this all come through you.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So does he get over there very often?
He's been to Perth once. He's been to Australia a few times. So he's been over to Andy's show in Sydney a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, we brought the Moon Eyes dragster over. So between the WA Hot Rod Show and Andy and the guys at John's Rod and Custom who did a drag thing, we'd had the dragster sort of tour Australia, and the Chige and Chico and that all came over at various times, for that time. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
I met Chige at Winter Sun 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he used to go to Queensland quite a bit, and apparently he used to go over there and buy a Toyota Crowns.
Oh, yes.
It was cheap. Yeah. So, and Shige's good. He's really good because he loves the Australians. He really likes Australian people and how we are and how we're a bit more laid back than I guess the Americans can be.
So he's based in America?
Shige's, he's the owner, so he's based in Japan, but he spends a lot of time in America and everywhere. He's hardly ever home. And then,
didn't he go to university in California when he was young?
Yes, he did. Yeah, so that's how he
spent a bit of time culture, there. Didn't it?
Yeah. And then his friend, so Chico and Shige have been friends for a long time. So Chico stayed in the US. Shige went back to Japan. And then, sort of ended up becoming a dealer and had a little side business doing Moon Eye stuff. And I mean, do you want me to run through a bit of the background with Shige owning the business?
Give us a little bit of history on that. Yeah, I'm interested to know why that bloke's looking over your shoulder, though.
Chip, yeah. We heard he's an okay fabricator, so we get him in to just have a look here and there.
All right, yeah.
Bit of quality control.
Yeah. But so Moon Eyes itself, the company started in 1957 in Santa Fe Springs. Dean Moon started the company. The site that it was on was his dad's lunch bar, and Dean started making parts when he was at high school or something, and he was just making fuel blocks and cast aluminium things. Then he sort of expanded and found someone that did metal spinning, and they started doing the moon discs, and the moon disc is what put them on the map.
Yeah.
So 57 they started the actual business. And Dean Moon himself was a photographer, and he liked racing. So he was at Bonneville and El Mirage and the drags and all that sort of stuff. And he was a keen photographer, so took lots of photos there as well. And over the years, obviously, they started doing it, painting everything yellow, and they had the Eyes logo, and yeah, it just became really well known. So Shige came on the scene. He was the first international dealer in the early 80s. He was the first person ever outside the US that sold the Moon Eyes products. And him and Dean became good friends. But Dean passed away in 87, and his wife, I think it's Shirley, passed away not long afterwards.
Right.
And the business just stopped because the kids weren't interested,
Oh.
and it literally sat derelict. And so Shige went, well, hang on a minute, I've just got this business going and it's just started to take off. What do I do now? So he looked into it. It took him 2 years, and then he managed to buy the business and the property. So he still runs the business where it started in 1957.
Right,
Still on the same property, same buildings,
really?
same workshop. Everything's in the same place. You know, the showrooms where it was, and the workshops where it was. You know, and even some of the old casting bucks and molds are still the original ones from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, that's cool.
All the metal spinnings, all the tanks and the discs and all the spun stuff is still done by hand in-house at Moon Eyes.
So tell us a little bit about what's behind you then. Why are the hot rods behind you?
Well, we the retail side of it, we started with just a retail shop, and after about 5 years, the unit next to us became vacant. So I took over that, and we made half of it more retail. And then I started with just a little workshop, really just to put my own cars in. And then a friend of mine, Craig Clements, who does all the stuff behind me, him and I have been friends for a long time already, and we'd done a couple of cars, and we'd bought cars and spent a bit of time and flipped them and made money and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then we built a chassis bench. So I just got him in and said, "Oh, do you want to come and do a chassis?" So he did a couple of chassis, and then we did some more stuff. And then it just expanded from there. And then, within sort of, I don't know, I guess a year or two of doing that sort of thing, suddenly we were building cars for customers, and it just kept going. And now we're more building cars for customers and clients than actually, the retail. It's more or less that's all we do. You know, I spend half my day selling parts and answering phones, and then the other half, sort of helping Craig and building cars and working on stuff as well. Yeah,
that's really cool. It's hard to juggle the two, though, I could imagine.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, like you sort of just get started doing something, and as we saw before, the phone rings or a customer walks in.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of walking back and forth. And sometimes I do find it easy. Yeah, we're upstairs as well. So I do find sometimes it's easier just to go say to Craig, like, I'll just come back tonight and do that. You know, an hour's job takes 3 because of stopping and starting, but it just depends on the day. You know?
But that's the nature of the beast. That's just what it is. Yeah.
But it's good for Craig because basically, I mean, like especially for someone who works by themselves, you can imagine how much time involved. Oh, no, I need one of these. I need to order this.
Oh, yeah.
So the good thing is Craig just comes to me and goes, well, I need this and this and this, and I go order it and then bring it to him, and he can just keep working. And you can see over my left shoulder the A coupe. Well, we've done the roof chop this week, so we did a 3-inch chop on that.
Yeah.
So because he's uninterrupted, he's managed to do it in basically 3.5 days. So
yeah, but that's kind of a 2-man job because you can't just cut it and drop it.
No, that's right. Yeah, so that's when he'll yell out to me, right? Well, when you got 2 minutes, you need to come out here and hold this, and help him lift the roof on and off, and that sort of thing. And like you say, it's even just like holding the other end of the jack and the presses, and
just
you hold this and I'll weld it and all that sort of thing.
That's why I'm intrigued with Brad. I don't know how Brad does the metal work on your own, Brad. Can you explain a little bit of that to us? How do you do that? Like, it's hard enough on your own, but it's good when you got someone else to hold the other end.
Yeah, sometimes. You just got to work around, be really process driven, and try and break the job down that you don't snooky yourself. Like when you're welding these big multiple panel jobs together, you really got to think about what order they go together so you can reach all the welds to tap them up.
Yeah.
And I keep myself out of trouble that way more than anything. At worst, I've got to make a couple of extra jigs or something to hold panels or to hold something.
Yeah.
Like when I was wheeling this bonnet, I made a jig for the back edge of it that vice grips on, which created a handle for me so I could hold the bonnet halfway down and halfway across.
Yeah.
And side wheel it because it had its own temporary frame just for the wheeling machine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But most guys would have two guys to do that wheeling.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So pretty ingenious how to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Just desperation, I think.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, where there's a will, there's a way. That's definitely right. Yeah. I'm just going to go back to zip.
Can I ask Brad a quick question?
Go for it.
Regarding the FJ Ute that you said had been widened, is that the whole body or just the bonnet?
No, the whole body's been widened about 280 mil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
280 mil.
Yeah.
Wow,
And then it's been 340 all up.
Yeah, wow. Well, my mate's black FJ that won Street Machine of the Year in '94, that was just the fenders widened.
Okay.
Not the body, and it wasn't chopped either. And of course, that meant widening the grill and the bumpers as well. But it wasn't the body; it was just the fenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
this
where did you widen it? Where's the cut as such?
Okay, so the depth of like the fenders haven't been widened, so the fenders are still stock width.
Yep.
So the main widening was through the left and right hand side of the roof. So the centre section was left alone, and the two. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So in the rear, it's just the tailgate.
Sorry, mate.
In the rear, it's just the tailgate.
It's a tailgate boot lid combo. So the tailgate is part of the hard lid, so it looks like a big overgrown boot lid. Really.
So the rear quarters widened?
No, they're standard profiles.
Yeah.
They've just been the profile shapes for the bulbous section that the wheel arch is in. That's been sort of pumped out a little bit just to make it a bit more pronounced, and that's about all.
Yeah. That's a big job.
Yeah.
Big job. Massive. Yeah.
We're all definitely agreed with that. I think we're all just dumbfounded that it's that much wider because that's huge.
Yeah, I'm blown away. Yeah.
Does it
But
fit the trailer?
The trickiest part is that the A pillar, it's the 260, 280 mil wider, but at the headlight, it's only 90 mil wider than standard.
I see.
Ah.
So the front's pinched as well.
Right.
So that's how we try to retain that real FJ look from the front, because it's not that much wider.
Is it the standard height from sill to roof?
Yeah, the roof is still standard height, but it looks like it's had a roof chop because everything.
It's wider. Yeah.
The proportions have changed.
Correct. Yeah.
With Colin's car, the fenders were each widened 4 inches, so overall the car was 8 inches wider.
Oh, nice.
And very, very low with 15 by 12s on the back with 345 Pirelli Simmons wheels and 15 10-inch rims on the front.
Wow.
It was very squat and the proportions were magnificent, but your car's quite different. I'd love to see the end result.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's we've had a few setbacks of late with some one-off parts for the car, so we're hoping for next year, but I don't think that'll work.
Yeah,
that's cars.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's always good to have a timeline on a car, just so you can ruin it. Like it just ain't gonna happen.
Absolutely.
It's a good way to get your hopes up. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Zip, I don't know how much time we've got left, but you got a little bit of a thing that you do at the races that I do know about. Can you sort of share with us a little bit on that one?
Yeah, about 10, 11 years ago now, I was asked to be involved as a chaplain within motor racing, and we're all Christian guys, and that's about people care when there's trauma. So if there's a serious accident, or even to officials, and we're not there for the public, we're there for the competitors and the officials. And if there's any trauma or any difficult issues, so it's people care. It's dealing with any of those issues that the rest of the organisation don't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of football clubs, etc., particularly in the country these days, have got suicide, drugs, broken relationships, and all of this personal stuff to deal with. And there might be, of course, a death on the field as well. That's the extreme end of it. But so I'm involved in that at the Malala racetrack just north of Adelaide. Only historic type stuff, because that's where my interest lies.
Oh, yeah.
And also for the Adelaide 500, formerly the Clipsal, once a year.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So have you had training in that, or is that just something you were interested in doing?
No, yeah. Well, when I was asked, it made sense to me, and also we did have some training, about a week only. We're not formal. We're a chaplain, a professional chaplain who's paid money. They are required to probably have a degree in theology and some other stuff, like if you work for the police force or whatever, and you're a professional chaplain. That's a different thing. All the AFL teams have our chaplains from Sport Chaplains in Australia, based in Melbourne.
Really?
Okay.
And most of those guys are actually pastors of churches, because they need to be professional at a different level, and they're dealing with professional sports people rather than the guy at the local track or the local footy club. You with me?
Yeah. No,
And
that's
they're
interesting.
they're dealing with issues at a different level, particularly with potential media, although they keep away from media. But there's all those pressures that are quite different at that level.
Yeah, because there's in the automotive industry, like, and I'm talking the whole industry, we all come from different walks of life, and there's all different things that have got to be covered, and that's sort of something that we all know is there when we're at the races, but you don't really know who's doing it or how it's done, But so it's actually, I always thought it was for everybody at the races, but it's not. It's predominantly the racers themselves, and they're
yeah. I mean, if somebody at a race from the public needed something, we would help.
Naturally,
but officially we're there for the competitors and the officials, and we're all volunteers, and we believe very strongly in that we shouldn't be paid, because then we're there for the right reason. We're not there, even though we're all Christians, we're not there for religious reasons. No. We're there for people care. We're there on their turf, so we do it on their conditions.
Yeah, which is good, because you're there to support people.
Yeah. Yeah. And we spend a lot of time building relationships when people aren't busy, not working on their car or whatever, just getting to know them, so that if a problem comes, the bridge has already been built.
So if someone's working on their race car and it's not quite going to plan, do you go and work with them, help them out?
No, they've got their own pit crew and stuff.
I just thought.
I mean, if they wanted to hold something for a second, we would, but really. We don't want to be taking sides or anything.
No, No, that's really good. Now look,
I wouldn't touch a Ford. You know that.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I reckon I got a photo of you in a Ford. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
It is, yes.
Look, guys, I really like to sort of thank you guys. We're running out of time, so I'm going to have to finish it up. But thanks for your time. It's been a really good chat, actually. It's been a really good chat. Interesting. Even though Al's missed half of it, but it's all good.
I'll have to watch it when it's on.
Yeah. You got a burger. All right,
we'll
guys,
have to dock it.
Finish it up now.
For very long.
Thank you very much for doing everything today and having a talk, and we'll catch up soon.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers, guys.